You don't want me to look at you, I won't look at you. This is the thumbnail. Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I would like to do the off the top of your head book tag. And I thought it would be fun to bring in my boyfriend Sean, who is also a really big reader, and have him answer the questions and see if there's anything that we agree on and if there's anything that's going to cause a fight. All right, so question 1, what was your favorite picture book as a child? And I will go first. Mine was Harold and the Purple Crayon. And I think that was because I was a super imaginative kid and I was always getting in trouble for daydreaming. And I would have loved to have a magic crayon. And I would also like to say that apparently they are making a live action movie of Harold and the Purple Crayon that's coming out this summer. And I will pop up a picture of the ridiculous looking poster for it somewhere, maybe over Sean's face over here. So I'm not looking forward to that. It's probably gonna ruin the book a little bit. But Sean, how about you?
Does There's a Monster at the end of this book count with Grover?
Sure.
So that's one I remember we reading a lot.
I don't think I've read that one.
Oh no.
What's it about?
There's a monster at the end of the book. You have to read it. It's about who the monster is.
Okay. I will read that. Question 2. What series did you love as a child? So I was 100% obsessed with Nancy Drew books. My grandma bought me the full set of all the original yellow cover ones, and I read them over and over and over again, and I thought that Nancy was awesome and her boyfriend Ned was the worst. And then later on I read the Nancy Drew Case Files, which I think came out in the 80s and had these amazing 80s covers with Nancy with like mall hair and Ken wearing like pleated acid washed pants and things like that. And Nancy Drew, kids today don't seem to read Nancy Drew, and that makes me sad because Nancy Drew taught me that it was amazing to be a smart lady. How about you, Sean?
So the first book, the series that I remember getting into was the Holiday Inn series, starting with Bunnicula.
Ooh, Bunnicula. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. I love that one. Lots of vegetables completely drained of their juices. Yes. And we got our nephew a copy of the graphic novel of Bunnicula for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I think he really enjoyed it. At least I saw him carrying it around with him, so I assume he was reading it. All right. Question 3. The worst book you have read or tried to read. Why are you laughing?
I don't know. I'm wondering if we had the same book.
Okay. Let's say it on 3, 2, 1. Wicked. Oh. Okay. All right. So our mutual worst book that we've ever read is Wicked by Gregory Maguire. And I apologize in advance to all the people who found great meaning in this book, but I thought it was the worst thing that I have ever read in my life. And I read it before I saw the musical. Did you read it before or after you saw the musical?
Oh no, I wanted to read it because I saw the musical.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Because it's so different from the musical. The musical doesn't have the same ending at all.
I didn't get that far.
Okay, well the book doesn't have a great ending, but the musical has a good ending, and it has some real bangers of musical numbers, but I had not seen the musical. I think the musical was being produced at the time that I read the book, but my roommate had a copy of it and I didn't have any of my books with me, and I thought, oh, this looks fun and it's going to be a musical, so I should read Wicked. And then it was awful. There's like a weird sex club.
Didn't get that far. I don't know.
At one point, spoiler, there's a giant time skip and she has a son, except she doesn't remember if he's her son because she doesn't remember being pregnant or giving birth, but maybe it happened. Who knows? It's just not good. good. It's just so terrible. So if you've only seen the musical and you think it might be fun to read the book, don't read the book. No. All right. Okay. All right, so moving on. What is your favorite reading or book memory? So mine is going to be about one summer that I was doing study abroad in college, and I was kind of homesick because I think it was the first time that I had ever been really far away from home. But that was also one of the summers that one of the Harry Potter books was coming out, and I think it was Half-Blood Prince, maybe. And a whole group of us went down to the bookstore in the old town and bought them out of their English language copies of Harry Potter, and then I went back to my room and read the whole thing, and it just felt like having like this piece of home so far away from home, and it was amazing. How about you, Sean?
Actually, I was going to mention Harry Potter's story as well, but it's slightly different. So when I was living in Alabama at the time, I had some friends, and one of them just had a baby, and I would go over there and help out and everything. And they're really big into Harry Potter. And at the time, I was reading each book right before I go see the movie. So read the first one, go see the movie, wait till the second movie came out, read the book, go see the movie. And they just find that horrifying. So they would hand me the baby and then start reading the book to me to force me to read the next books.
That's amazing, though. Those are good friends. Okay, question 5. A book that you loved as a movie. Okay, so mine, so I'm not necessarily a Jane Austen girly. I've read them all. I read them all, I think, in high school, and then I don't think I've ever read any of them a second time. But there was a time period when I was completely obsessed with the movie version of Sense and Sensibility, the one with Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet, where the love interests are Hugh Grant and Alan Rickman, who was probably way too old for the ladies he was romancing in that film. But it doesn't matter because it was Alan Rickman. I even have somewhere a copy of the sheet music that they played on their pianoforte that I've played for lots of weddings and things like that. But that is a great movie. How about you?
So I really liked Jurassic Park as a movie, and it made me want to read the book. And that was one that I did read after watching the movie and really enjoyed the book, and just started reading all like Michael Crichton's books after that. So when I think of a book from a movie, I usually think of Jurassic Park. Yeah.
I think I got Jurassic Park at the book fair in the 7th grade, and I didn't know what it was, but I love that book. So, a book you wish that they would make into a movie. So I'm really hoping that we don't have the same answer for this one also. But I'm going to go ahead and say that I think that the Blake Crouch books, specifically Recursion and Dark Matter, and I'm pretty sure at least one of those is being made into a film, but I don't ever watch TV, so I'm not good at knowing what's going on, that those would make amazing movies, even though they weren't perfect. I even think his most recent book that I can't remember the name of right now, the one that was kind of a superhero book that I didn't like, I think it would make an amazing movie. But I just think he's kind of like, I would say kind of like the new Michael Crichton, when we were just talking about Jurassic Park. But like, I was a really big Michael Crichton fan in high school, and I know Sean has like a ton of his books and was a big fan of him. So I think those would be amazing films. How about you, Sean?
Well, I did think of Dark Matter, but they're already making it into an adaptation. So I wasn't going to say that, but I was thinking out of like some of the books that we've kind of like read together, whatever, like that really any of John Scalzi's books, but the Kaiju Preservation Society would make a fun movie.
That would make a fun movie. That would make a really fun movie. I love John Scalzi. You need to read Starter Villain.
Probably.
It's got cats. Cat spies. So a book character that you would like as a friend. So I will go first. And this is a recent book, and I would like to be friends with Emily and Wendell from Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, or the sequel. I have the sequel here, so I'm gonna hold that up. I love these books. They are super charming, and I used to work for a university. I used to be a professor, and I really love grumpy academic types, and Emily is kind of the ultimate grumpy academic lady type, and I just love her. And Wendell is very into sewing, and so am I, and I feel like we could swap some tips, so I really like to hang out with them. How about you, Sean?
The one person I thought that I'd like to hang out with is the boy from The Little Prince.
Oh.
He's like so full of like wonder and just, I don't know. I remember when I was reading that book, thinking that he'd be kind of cool to like just be around and see how he experiences the world.
That's a good one. Okay, number 8 is a place that you would like to visit because of a book you have read. And so I'm going to talk about the book that we are currently doing as a read aloud together, which is Murder on the Orient Express. So I really love trains, and we live in the US, and passenger trains exist, but are not the same that they are other places. And I know the Orient Express doesn't really exist anymore, but there are these super fancy luxury trains that you can book passage on that use old train cars and are basically the destination is the train ride that run on the Orient Express routes. And I think that that would be the most amazing trip if, we ever win the lottery and we can afford to do that. I looked up how much it was. Don't do that. No, it's expensive. So what's yours?
Place. I guess maybe New Zealand because of the filming of, I guess not necessarily from the book itself, but the filming of The Shire and the Lord of the Rings. But New Zealand seems to be a nice, fanciful place, and visiting some of those places and sites.
Yeah. Number 9 is a nonfiction book that you would recommend. And mine is going to be Evicted, which is a nonfiction book about the eviction crisis in the US and how difficult it is if you fall into poverty and you get in this cycle where you can't pull yourself out because once you have an eviction on your record, there's no one who's going to rent to you. If you get your things taken and put into storage by the sheriff, there's actually a monthly fee, and eventually they just take away all your things and auction them off, and then you don't have any of your things, and you don't have a home, and you don't have anywhere to live. And if you don't have an address, you can't get a job. And it's written by this sociologist who follows a whole group of people. He actually just becomes a part of their lives, and they seem to really trust him, who are going through a lot of these problems. And it is really difficult to read in places, really heartbreaking to see how these people just cannot get out of this cycle. And I think it's definitely an important book. How about you, Sean?
So if we're talking about off the top of our head, I just finished The Wager this morning. So it was a very good narrative nonfiction. Just the way like kind of told the story of the shipwreck and showing both sides of the story, so that you like form your own opinion about the case of what happened on the shipwreck. It's very intriguing.
And I read that one last year, and it was one of my top 10 books. It's an amazing nonfiction book, and the author also wrote Killer of the Flower Moon, right? Is that the right title? Which I know they made into a movie this year that I haven't seen yet, but I thought that was an amazing book also, so that is a good choice. All right, and the last question is, if you could hang out with an author all day, who would you pick and why? And my choice is going to be Alex E. Harrow. She's somebody that I've started reading recently. Starling House was one of my top books last year, and I follow her on social media and I get her newsletter, and I think she just seems super delightful. She's really funny, and I've gotten several amazing book recommendations. She feels like somebody who isn't just recommending books because she's being asked to blurb them by her publisher, but she recommends things that she legitimately likes, even if they're not part of her, brand or something like that. And I also love that her last book was set in a fictional coal town in Kentucky. And my grandparents were actually from Flatlick, Kentucky, which is a small coal town. It's near Barberville, or Barberville, if you want to say it the way they did, which is about 2 hours away from Knoxville, which is also probably not a place where anyone knows where it is. And I would love to hear about her inspiration for that. And she's from Kentucky, so we feel like we would have a lot in common. How about you, Sean?
I would have to say John Scalzi, just because I don't know, I look forward to his posts on Threads. They're just like very fun and interesting. And just today he mentioned that he just got off of the JoCo cruise for a week, and that kind of says everything I need to know about like hanging out with him.
Oh, yeah, I know he seems like he's really awesome. That would definitely be a fun person to hang out with. So, all right. Well, thank you, Sean, for answering some questions with me. I hope you're going to come back and do this again.
Maybe.
Maybe. All right. So, thank you all for being here. I hope you have enjoyed this. If you liked it, go ahead and click subscribe or leave a comment if you have any comments about the questions that we answered here today. And if you would like to be tagged in this video, consider yourself tagged. I would love to see your answer to these questions. I hope you all have a great week and you find lots of great reads. Goodbye.